So you worked on the book for 5 years, is that right, Paul?
Well, I would say the book was an unspoken seed 5 years prior to its publication. What actually happened was Paul and I had fun. We were supposed to be, serving our college by going to these committee meetings, and instead we would pass notes like we were kids in school. He would ask questions about perceptual processes. And I just kept saying yes and giving Paul answers. And you know how sometimes synchronicities are beautiful things. At that exact moment in time, Chapman offered its first co-teaching award. And when the email arrived, I read it and I thought, damn, somebody's been listening in on our conversations. And so we drafted a proposal, which was quite a bit of work. You have to collapse 2 courses into one, and you have to design the background literature, the syllabi, put forth a proposed course. Well, we did that and we won. We were the first ever co-teaching award at Chapman University.
Oh, wow.
And we called the course Cinema and the Brain, and we taught together, which you've met Paul, so that was hard for me to get a word in edgewise, but we learned how to just play off of each other, and the students loved it. It was a huge success. Maybe because Paul showed a lot of movie clips, and so there wasn't a lot of lecture to listen to, but despite themselves, they picked up quite a bit of basic kind of 101 neuroscience, so the parts of the brain that are involved when you are seeing or listening, and the parts of the brain that interact when you have an emotional response, a fear response, or a humorous response, and how the audience is constantly engaged if the writer or the film switches it up at a fast enough pace. Our brains are pretty quick instruments to play, and the real gift of a good movie is that it uses that knowledge of when to give the viewer that emotional pause when they've had too much to process, and how to give that downtime at the same time keeping them actively engaged. So our first class was such a hit that despite kind of upsetting the administration a little bit, we were granted a second viewing, or another time to do it. And over the process of that, Paul is part of the United Film Visual Artists. I believe that's the acronym. And he was going to Chapman was going to host their annual conference. And so Paul and I were invited to do what we were doing in front of the classes for one of their panels. So during that presentation, a book editor, someone from the publishing houses, was there and wanted us to sign to produce the book. So it kind of dovetailed from what we were doing, mostly having fun is what we've always done. Neither Paul or I take anything very seriously, but the experience was, I think, eye-opening, not just for me, but for the 2 or 3 dozen students who actually went through the class, certainly for administrative department-wise, to see how blended 2 very distinct fields actually are. So that was what started the book.